What about you?
Why?
What about you, Nick?
I think Draven's good, but no one plays him. I think Draven almost falls into the same category as mages, where most AD carries can't play him.
That's very true.
Even if they can play him, it's not at a level where you would actively want to pick him. Because I think Draven is a meta answer to certain AD carries that end up showing their heads. Like, I think if enemy early rotates Zyricon, for instance, you can respond Draven, and then there's too many supports that pair with him that'll just ruin that lane. Because they want to come into Draven, and then he ruins them. He just straightens them up really quick.
Straightens them up.
Yeah, that's the phrasing I use. But, like, Draven's also really good against Callista. So
yeah, it is. It's really tough matchup.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. So the thing that's so bizarre is this is a perfect meta for people to be able to pilot Draven, and yet no one can. So I think that's a problem. I think mage support should be good in bot lane right now because Senna and Aphelios, they answer Senna Aphelios really well. I think there's a lot of meta problems. I was actually going to tweet at you the other day. You made some tweet. Let me actually find it. It was something about, like, you're waiting for next split. And I was going to make a tweet at you that you should just play off-roll in off-season and try to play mages or something. Because, I don't know. It's really weird. Like, people like yourself or any other AD, you don't need to play your 500th game of Aphelios or 500th game of Senna. No one is playing mages, and no one prioritizes trying to do so. And it's obviously really bad. Because the people that are coming up now are, like, rookies, right? An LPL, LCK, or even LEC or something. They're not going to probably be limited by the beliefs that everyone else had, like Season 1 through 9 or Season 1 through 8, of, like, role selection. Like, even in LCK and LPL now, players are capable of playing multiple roles. We're seeing it in LCK. Mid laners can go top. Mid laners can go support. Mid laners can go AD carry. AD carries can go mid. I think that's the next, like, evolution, is that people need to understand League is ultimately just a game, or it's like a language. And either you can do stuff or you can't. And I think by being limited, it's really bad. And even if, like, hypothetically, you could play 500 more games of Aphelios and maybe move your strength from a 95 to a 96. If you moved your mage playing capabilities from, like, a 70 to a 90, that's infinitely more valuable in certain spots inside a draft. Or just overall, because you probably grow your understanding of, like, positioning and stuff. In the feelings of mages. So I think that's important.
No, I totally agree. I think, but one factor about it is it's not always about the player's willingness. I mean, I hate to just, like, curve the conversation into like my experience, but
no, go ahead.
Like it. I'll just give you an example. This last Worlds, Veigar was a metabolic pick, right?
Yes.
And Veigar was a lot of people's answer to Heimerdinger, a lot of people's answer to a bunch of stuff. Kai'Sa was meta at the time, Zyricon, etc.
Yes.
I played a shit ton of Veigar. Everyone who watched my boot camp knows I played a shit ton of Veigar. But then when it came, like, time to bat, I guess, we just weren't. We were just, first off, we're losing every fucking scrim with it. But and even, like, the coaches were telling me it's not because you're bad at Veigar. It's just, like, the team is just really bad at playing around this new dynamic. So it's like everyone on the team has to be willing to go through the growing pain of, like, this unfamiliar dynamic. It's like you don't have the same, like, flow of the game. You don't have the same strengths as an AD carry would have. You also have different strengths that you need to, like, snowball and take advantage of, and sometimes you're gonna fuck up by, like, overplaying it or something. So I think, like, yeah, I agree. Like, it's about, like, a team's willingness to, like, do new shit. I've always gotten memed about my Vlad, but, like, I'll give you another example. When Sona Taric and Sona Tom was super fucking broken, my team spammed the fuck out of it, and I kept telling them, just keep like, we're getting fucked. I'm getting tired of. I'm like 0-8. I'm literally running it down. I don't understand the limits of the champion. I don't understand like how the team needs to play around it, or what the enemy team can do to me to, like, fuck the strategy up.
Yes.
But I promise you guys, it's gonna be worth it. Just keep playing it. So we literally had, like, a 20% win rate in scrims with it over, like, 100, not 100 scrims, maybe like 30 scrims, 40 scrims, right? Yeah. And then at the end, I truly believe that me and Core were either one of the best or the best Sona Tom, Sona Taric players in the whole world. We were so good at this strat. We never fucked it up. and we won every game. I think we were like 14-1 in competitive games with this strat. Everyone knew to permaban that shit against us because it was so AIDS.
Yeah.
But like, you have to be willing to go through this crazy growing pain as a team and trust the player to learn the new champ, and also, you know, like put in your own individual effort as like the jungler or as a top laner or whatever to like figure it out. It's hard. It's fucking hard because you
No,
have
it
all
is, it
these,
is.
you have like a limited amount of time
So-
to do all this stuff.
This is why I asked about blitz games. Because like the early laning phases of Sonataric, right? Even that takes a lot of effort. But if you play blitz games, so I'll try to give you my summary thoughts on everything that you just said. So the first thing that stands out to me, and I actually want to segue this into a tweet, or not a tweet, but something that you said on stream a few days ago that was like in a highlight video about like communication. So the first thing that stands out to me is like, why aren't blitz games being used? And maybe you're saying, or maybe the argument is like, we can't find a team that would be willing to do blitz games. Well, that's a problem in itself, because that means practice is not being utilized as optimally as it could be. Because by being able to play 10-15 minute early game and mid game transitions as Sonataric and get 60 games in one day is fucking insane, because you're just constantly hitting it with so many different things. So you could effectively get 200 games in less than a week of certain different matchups and whatnot, and that grows your understanding a lot, even if you just sit on it. But then the other thing is, if you're saying like the team has to like learn this new style and blah 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 blah, well, that sounds like fucking the infrastructure is bad. Like, why is that a problem, or why is that something that people are like afraid of? Why would people not want to grow or learn new things that are obviously lacking from their gameplay? Because clearly there are just players and teams that they can just, you know, they have champion oceans, or they can do different approaches to the game, right? And if you're limited, that's a byproduct of the way that you're practicing, and that obviously sucks. And then the thing that you were saying on stream the other day, it's a thing I've talked about a lot, like recently, on like streams or whatever, is you mentioned like your team having bad communication. And I hate the word communication, because I feel like communication is only necessary when there's player gaps. And what I mean by player gaps is like, let's say you see something, but your jungler doesn't. Well, that's not a communication issue. That's, you're clearly aware of something and your jungler doesn't fucking recognize it. So there's a need to speak. But if the jungler recognizes it, or the mid laner recognizes it, it's because you're sharing sort of game knowledge. But if there's different tiers in all different areas, then you need to speak. But that's a byproduct of bad practice, or it's a byproduct of bad assessment leading up to the practice. Because how is this so consistent, right? Because you've been a pro player for so many years now, and obviously, you guys had one change, right, in the offseason. Jungle. How the fuck does everything apparently fall apart? It's not... If players are constantly having to communicate with each other to hold their hands as they walk through a fucking maze, they're not practicing good. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It doesn't register in my brain that everyone needs to be escorted. And when boot campers come over to Korea, and I try to help boot campers, or we do like internal scrims with like various boot campers that come here, or like the mock fucking scrim team that I almost brought to TCS when we or scrimmed against some of the boot camping teams in Korea, it was always so weird to me how much communication Western players needed to give each other. And there's a lot of fucking filler info that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I agree and I disagree. I think I agree with the point that you need comms, because not everyone is seeing the same thing, and that is usually a byproduct of different experiences. But I think you'll never have 5 people who are absolute experts in every category in the same level. Like, everyone's an expert in their own role. To an extent, like, you have people who, you know, who play mid who know a lot about jungle, or you have somebody like a support who knows a lot about, I don't know, mid or top or something, or like situations and stuff like that. But like, you need comms to fill the information gap for sure. And I guess in an ideal situation, you don't need to communicate once you get enough on the same page, once you all think the same way. But then there's really no point to even be on a team if you're not going to have a steady flow of information, I guess, in the game. Because like, you can't control how you're perceiving the game that day, your game sense. You can't control how good your laning phase is going, but the one thing you can always control no matter what is the way your communication goes.
Okay, so maybe I'm talking in a weird way, because I agree with you that communication about like your game sense, that's important to convey. Or communication about maybe feelings based on patterns that the opponents are displaying in lane, right? But do you agree or disagree that a jungler should be able to F key to your lane, understand the lane state, and then know how to path?
I do agree with that point. I 100% agree. That would be ideal. That's not reality, though. The reality is like most junglers that I've played with cannot F key to a lane and tell you whether or not it's gankable. The lane needs to dictate when it's gankable and how it's gankable. That's worded here. It's like you should come like this pathing. Like that's just my experience as a player. But I agree. Like I would have loved it if I never had to tell Xmithy or Broxa when to gank. They can just know, and then there's no need for communication. But I think that's like it's too far from reality.
Well, I disagree that it's far from reality, because of experience, like my own subjective experiences, and I can understand if your experiences across different teams, that's not the reality. But someone should be making the jungler get to that point, because
I see.
It doesn't. I mean, F keys. I remember I made the first video about F keys in 2015. And everyone made fun of me, saying that it's pointless, right? But nowadays, it's pretty mainstream. Like everyone uses F keys. Not everyone has to use it as much as like Faker or something. But you could be playing jungle, look bot lane, and probably understand the bot lane state.
Exactly, I could.
Okay.
Because I'm an expert on bot lane.
Okay.
I mean, like I'm gonna know more about bot lane than most pro junglers.
Right. But a lane state, only requires you to entertain minion position relative to turret, and then understand what the champions do. Sort of, right? Because mid laners do this all the time. Top laners do it to a lesser extent because the metas change up so much. So what is so far-fetched for a jungler to learn these things? Because I don't think it's far-fetched. But then also in my own subjective experiences, so like I had Malice on BBQ, or whatever. Malice knew more about the lanes than the laners. So Malice would not only go into like scrims and 1v1s, but also spend a lot of time talking about the laners, like lane manipulation and other stuff. But it's also because he plays lane, I think it's a thing in Korean solo queue where everyone plays multiple lanes and roles, and so the generic baseline understanding is elevated. But if, like on Team Liquid, you're saying that you wish that you didn't have to tell Xmithy or Broxa about lane states, there's a problem that's already happening outside of the game. Because if they can't do it on their own, that's where practice should be dedicated. Why can't you recognize a lane state? Why can't you assess something baseline? Because I personally don't think it's that hard with dedicated practice.
Yeah. I think we are on the same page in a sense, because, well, I think one thing that we're both overlooking is like, what is the coach's role in all this? And you're saying it's the coach's role is to like make that jungler, make that player understand the situation better for next time. Sometimes the coach just doesn't know, right? Like this,
and that's the problem.
Like the coach in a lot of cases just doesn't know the answer, or doesn't have the right answer. And so communicating in game a lot of the time is about building your teammates' habits. It's like, yo, like this situation's happening again. I got the freeze again bot. It's gonna be gankable in a minute. And you say that over and over, like not over and over again, but you say it like multiple times throughout the week, and then you hope that by like training your team, we're using like bot lane and jungle only, but like really this is just about any situation ever. But like you're trying to train your teammates to see the situation the same way you do, so that eventually you don't have to communicate. That's the ultimate goal. I agree. For some reason, it never really gets to that point. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because we don't play enough like Phil, or like we don't have the right like you said, like the infrastructure, the like programming or some shit to do it.
Yeah, there was a long talk on stream that I had like a couple of days ago with Dom, and there was various pro players in chat and whatnot. I talked about it a lot with like Nemesis, I assume, on stream, Fanatics mid, whatever. I think it's a really big problem, because if you're saying that the coach doesn't know how to identify it, then there's already a foundation error. Because coaching isn't linear. It's not transferring knowledge over. It's also sometimes establishing ways to help figure out a problem, or creating like roads that can lead to ends, that doesn't require handicaps and bridges and crutches in order to do so. That's not healthy, because all that you're inevitably doing is you're delaying the inevitable collapse that either eventually comes due to effort starts to fall off, or because people lose interest, or because the upkeep just isn't there. And then things just start to taper off slowly. And it wasn't ever really there to begin with. It was being artificially propped up. And that's already a fucking problem. So I think the issue stems from, and I've been very vocal about this, but obviously I don't want to, like, cause fucking super drama, is that there's a problem within stabs where the players are actually the best coaches.
Yes.
And that's a problem.
But don't you... Wait.
Yeah.
That's how G2 does it. Are you, like, not a fan of the way that G2 does it? Because I think for a Western team, that's about as good as you're going to get. Because, you know, we both live in the same reality. There's not really any crazy, you know, top tier game knowledge kind of people around, and so there's more facilitators. There's just more of a high chance, I guess, that you should have everyone be their own little expert and have a G2 situation where the coach is essentially there as a facilitator between the players, coaching each other.
Yeah, so I think that there's a discernment between like life coaches or like personality managers, and we title them coaches, compared to like strategical coaches. I think strategical coaches in the current sense don't currently exist because coaches don't. First off, where do they find the time? Usually, right? Because coaching wasn't a thing until November 2014, where Riot made the rule. So all of a sudden, it's a titled position that didn't exist 1 month prior, and all of a sudden 200 job openings exist. So a lot of people start jumping on the boat. And a lot of players, even challenger players, doesn't necessarily mean that they know anything. So if they suddenly just go into a coaching position, they're nothing more than essentially a sixth player, or a glorified manager. So then there's a problem where their game knowledge is also going to be limited, and it's going to be subject to their own role, typically. And if they don't make very strenuous efforts to go in and understand all the different roles and try to actively say, this is the lane state, this is how these trades are going, how can we optimize this, how can we make it better, then they never refine it themselves. So they end up becoming a facilitator for the pro players. But the pro players have their own biases going into the games, and they have their own viewpoints. And the problem is that they can't make each other understand rather than they make each other know, because there's a difference between knowing something and understanding it. If you understand it, you can manipulate it for the future, and you can identify patterns where it exists elsewhere, right? Which then means that suddenly you can detect different meta shifts, or you can identify certain lane states, even if the champions are different. Because lane states don't fucking change just because the champions are different. Minions are still going to operate and conduct themselves in the same way. You're still going to be able to juggle certain turret shots the same way, right? So all that you have to learn is to change the variable. Maybe this support can take 3 shots, maybe it can only take 4. Obviously, it can get a little bit more complex than that, but there's a problem if the coaches aren't going to great efforts to understand all 5 roles, so that it's not just a facilitation period. So while I don't think that they currently exist, I think that's probably something that has to be looked at and sought out for like the next gen of players. So I think like current day pro gamers, if they retire, if they actually want to do good by the next gen of pros in League, they have an obligation to learn all the roles to a near pro level extent. I don't think they have to be pro level, but I think they should be able to grapple with the pro players. Like in laning phase, at least. They should be able to sit down at a computer, get isolated game points, maybe botch the mechanics, but still have the wherewithal to be intentionally going after something or being able to recreate it. And I don't think anyone does it because they're all fucking lazy. Or they're just bad.
Yeah. I guess the point of it in like right now in the current day. Move my shit.
Yeah, I'm on top of that. Go ahead. This is fun, by the way. Am I bored? Is this dull for you? I don't know.
No. You're good, dude. You're good.
Okay.
Well, this is first time I ever did anything like that.
Okay.
We're freestyling it.
All right.
But like, yeah, right now the coaches won't know as much as the players. I agree. I think the point of it is that you have an unbiased opinion that isn't that is looking out for the good of the team. A lot of people, even me, like in the past, I would want to do things that make me look good, that put me in the best position, not put the team in the best position.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're sacking like a ton, but I get hit 500 gold, but our team falls behind 1k gold, I would still think, maybe this is good. But the coach is supposed to come in with an unbiased outside opinion.
Yes.
Essentially look out for what do most people on the team want. Not like that's pretty much it. Try to give the team some direction, try to challenge people's opinions, challenge people's habits. I agree with that. And yeah, it doesn't exist, so
Yeah, it sucks.
I think it just sucks. That's it. I think it is what it is. We live in NA. Actually, I live in NA. Hey, when do you come back? Come back to the homeland.
When do I go back to NA?
Yeah, dude.
I do not know.
You don't miss it?
No. I've been in Korea for 10 years because I was a StarCraft 1 pro.
I know, dude.
Oh, you know the
everyone knows.
Okay.
IAPM, we got it. No, I'm just kidding. I actually learned high APM in season 3 from Uzi.
Yeah, the avatar turning.
10,000 times a second, so you never know what direction.
Yes. You know about the faces, right? In modern day, I only asked because I've done like casual coaching on stream with pros that didn't fucking know. It's the weirdest thing.
Wait, didn't know about what? What'd you say?
A champion's face in game.
What about his face?
Tells you where their mouse last clicked.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's really weird. Some people never think about that. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's a little trick.
Yeah.
It's really important when you play shit like Varus, where it's just like so easy to flash or so easy to react. But if they turn for the CS, their mouse is on the CS. They're not gonna be able to like flash back as easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Little tricks like that. It's good. I always wondered if I should have made like a fucking
video.
Like, just like weekly or monthly or even yearly like tips and tricks. But then I always felt like if I did that, I was giving everyone a little advantage because like this shit literally works in LCS. The most like basic, you literally think like a brain dead person could easily learn this stuff, but it works on pro players all the time. I don't know. Like Keith McBrief's hooks are just so good. Did you see that game?
What game?
Those little tips and tricks, like just lock in Thresh for Keith, and it's just free win ball. You don't need to watch the game. It was Team Liquid versus Golden Guardians. Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
Okay.
But like, there's so many little things you can do to win ball lane. It's crazy.
What? Oh my god. So okay, let me ask you a question. If you quit pro play, right, and made it a point to get high challenger with mid top jungle and support.
In NA, I could do it with my eyes closed.
Okay.
No question.
So let's say Let's say EUS.
It would be much harder.
Okay.
Much harder. So it actually took me a while to get challenger on EUS is just 80 carry. I think it took me like 2 weeks or 10 days, something like that.
Yeah.
It took a while.
So immediately though, your overall game knowledge would probably improve, like over the course of 1 year. You played
a lot.
Yeah, like I don't know, 2,000 games of mid. Well, I don't know if you can play 10,000 games in a season. I mean, in theory, it's possible, but like,
no, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, well,
unless you're playing 30 games a day.
There's some Korean psychopaths, man. There really is. It's very strange. But like, I think if you came back after that, you'd be infinitely more equipped than basically any other coach. In terms of strategical, assessment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but I think coaching is really it's a lot more than that. Like, I think, let's say we're all robots who just play the game and we just need info, we just need data, and I come in with all the data. That's good, but people are real people. They're stubborn. They're stuck in their habits. They have mental blocks. They have emotions. It's just, coaching is honestly more like playing fucking player therapists than actually coaching a lot of the time, because people just have like mental problems. I don't want to.
No.
Not like actually like illnesses, but
no, some of them do. Some of them do have mental illnesses, and you have to know how.
Oh well, I didn't say that, but go ahead.
Yeah, but no, I mean it's true. So sometimes you have to know how to damage it, or not damage it, manage it. Jesus, damage. Sometimes you have to know how to manage it, and also you need to know the warning signs. Like when someone is clearly like starting to either get anxious or depressed, or if they're starting to become very reserved and whatnot. So yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, when's the last time you even you watched like LCS teams scrim? Like, I'll tell you that at least 2 games out of the 5 games that we scrim, so 40% of the practice, at least one player is on very serious tilt, like really serious, where it's just obvious that they've given up. And that's an average. That's an average.
Okay.
Like one player, 40% of the practice that we have is either mic muted and refusing to communicate that day, or just, it's just random occurrences. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. So I don't know, man.
What the
LCS
fuck?
it's pretty fucked. What's it like in LCK, dude? Big try hard every day?
Yeah, and if not everyone's tryharding, then
It's sub out time, right?
yeah, it is sub out time, but there's also other stuff that
Time out.
No, I mean, I think Korean culture we're all just a lot closer. Like even so on BBQ we had 2 imports. We had Malice and we had Deuce. And Malice has lived in Korea for 3 years, but all the Koreans were really, really welcoming towards the foreign teammates and whatnot. And Malice would actually try really hard. There were some scrims where some players would be very reserved, but it wouldn't take that much to fix it. But I don't know. It sounds like the level that you're talking about is an entirely different planet, like of tilt.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It's rough. So I've always had the mentality of like, when I argue with my teammates, at the end of the day, we still respect each other. We're still friends.
Yep.
Right? Like we argue for a purpose. The purpose is to get on the same page, or to change someone's mind, ultimately for like the goal of being better or winning or whatever.
Mhm.
But like, I think I'm not even speaking from personal experience. I think people are like, oh, it's fucking Team Liquid. You guys are always tilted. But like, no, like actually, there's literally like multiple. Sometimes you'll just have a couple days of scrims where you're just winning too fast in scrims. You're stomping too hard, and the enemy team just cancels. So you just get less practice because you're playing well, and the enemy team just doesn't want to finish out the block because it's too mentally damaging to get stomped. And I'll tell you guys honestly that like I'm pretty sure that we did that against Cloud9. At least I'm not 100% sure actually.
Did you move camera?
Did I move camera? No, I didn't move camera. I'm literally in the middle. But like, I gotta say, like, this shit happens a lot, right? Like, playing player therapist is a real job.
Yes, it is.
It's a real full-time job.
Yes, it is. Fuck.
I actually take it back. I don't think that we did it against C9, but I think we've heard that like other teams would cancel on C9 because they're just smacking them too hard in scrims. And I think Vulcan actually did an interview a couple days ago where he talked about it. No one wants to scrim C9 because it's too demoralizing. So they're getting punished for being too good. In Korea, everyone would want to scrim C9, right? Like, it's like,
yes.
Please, like, give me an extra game. Like,
yeah.
let me get shit on. I think there's like some really fucked up American mindset where like losing is the enemy. Like, do anything you can do to avoid losing, but like sometimes you actually just need to get shit on to improve, and like it's pretty bad, honestly. Like, I just think mentality-wise, I don't know. Maybe Americans are just too snowflake compared to other teams, other regions.
I think that like 20 years of esports would suggest that too. Like StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2 mindsets, Warcraft 3. I mean, I don't know of any esport title where that type of cultural stuff isn't present.
Yeah, I see. So you saw it in StarCraft the same way, where it's just like Americans are afraid to get shit on. Americans, like, they don't want to be humiliated in practice.
Yes.
But like, so you need to get humiliated in practice so you can improve. But it doesn't feel that way sometimes. But it's okay.
Oh, man.
We're Americans over here. We eat hamburgers every day. Am I right?
I do not. Do you?
And did you vote for Trump or what?
No, I didn't. I didn't vote. I was in Korea.
Fuck. Well, I know from our personal conversations that you definitely would have, and I appreciate that because you're deeply American, just like that.
Fucking
we both play Call of Duty every day.
Okay.
Oh, what's the bubble? What's the bubble? The first bubble. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Look at mid lane right now. Can you tell that it's losing?
I can tell that Jizuke mismanaged his wave.
Yes. Okay. So why the hell is he doing that?
Why is he doing that? It's Jizuke, man. Have you seen this guy play? He doesn't care.
Yeah, but like it's a problem when something like this is so consistent because like if you think about wave 3 or wave 4 and wave 3, the way that he's playing wave 1 and 2 is already suboptimal. Like he'll find himself feeling bad against Orianna 60-90 seconds from then. And you can tell right now, or like you could tell on that freeze frame, that that would be the sequence of events that would unfold. But that doesn't require you to play mid lane, it just requires you to understand, like, you know? I mean, so if...
Well, yeah, everyone who watched that situation knows. I think the... So I'm not trying to say he didn't make a mistake. I'm gonna explain his mindset was that there's no way that Rek'Sai would gank me here because he should know that Kindred can be behind me. He's like trying to justify it, you know? It's like it's okay for me to be greedy here and like push out and like do something I shouldn't be doing because like the enemy generally should be not like fully confident that Kindred's right here. At least this is my experience playing with every mid laner in the whole fucking world when they do this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
It's just like, but well, he shouldn't be allowed to do that. If my jungler just came 5 seconds faster, that was a double kill.
Yeah, and
also top is so gapped right now. Kumo is so lost right now.
Yeah, top's fucked right now. Top is completely fucked.
Kumo is just so wondering, like, where am I? Playoffs? Fuck, man.
He also built Bombies. First item on Ornn. Solo. I think it's bad.
Yeah.
You should go Ruby. You get more HP.
Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby. You get more HP for less gold, and then you go Chain Best. And if you go Ruby Chain Best, you get the most stats, but you miss out on Bombies, but you can freeze waves. So then anytime Rek'Sai is coming top lane, if you have a freeze and you have XP advantage as Ornn and you're level 6, Aatrox isn't lethal.
Don't even bring up the F word, man.
What? Freeze?
Don't even bring that shit up in NA.
Come on, in fucking laning phase.
Dude, I swear to God, oh, never mind. You know what? I'm not gonna say it. Never mind. Let's move on to a different subject.
Yeah.
Let's next.
What's the opposite of a boiling point?
A freezing point?
Sure. Let's talk about freezing.
Freezing. You want to talk about freezing?
Yeah, actually, why do you think people don't do it? We saw it in LEC today, actually.
I seriously couldn't tell you. I've won so many games. There was actually a game against RNG where I froze on Uzi and he got so tilted because I froze on him for like literally like 4 minutes as Caitlyn. He just got so tilted that I'm pretty sure he told Ming to run it down so that he could farm. Like, I'm pretty sure he just said walk up, tank the bind, die, and then I'll push the wave. Like, I really have no idea like why freezing is so taboo. I think it's one of those things where the logic it doesn't make sense to me either. It's like if you freeze, the enemy laner can roam, which makes it really hard for your mid laner or your other lane to play the game. Okay, so I'm like following. Okay, yeah. So like, and then my immediate question is, well, why can't my mid laner manage his wave to play safe on the roam, and then they'll lose a lot? And the answer is because it's really hard. The answer is always it's really hard for him to do that, and I'm like,
no, it's not.
What do you mean it's really hard? Like, explain to me how it's hard. Like, why is it so hard? And then they're like, well, you don't even know if our mid laner could get dove. You know, if maybe he does manage wave, so he's in game, but then he just gets dove. Then it's just game over. So you can't freeze. And I'm just thinking like, my brain is just melting so hard.
I was.
So yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you that freezing is sometimes just really good.
It just ends the game sometimes.
Yeah, it really does.
Opponent can't play.
And at the very least, you're gonna make the enemy jungler. Oh my God, Wild Turtle is he's so good. It's crazy.
Yeah, you got the notepad out or what?
I feel like sometimes I'm watching Uzi, but it's just.
So.
It's not LPL.
Okay.
No, so yeah, sometimes you just freeze because you want the enemy jungler to come tri-lane for a sec to break it, and it just gives your team such a huge advantage. But
yeah,
I mean, there's like so many ways. There's so many ways you could play it. But yeah.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, it's an embargo.
Nick.
Yeah, Peter.
Whoa!
Oh, wow.
Whoa. I did not say you could call me Peter, dude.
It's.
Calm down. We're not on that level yet.
We're not on that. Okay.
Yo, by the way, do you ever do this with Dom?
What, co-stream?
Yeah.
No, I up until this point, I always co-streamed with either LEC players or Sanchois.
Dude, here's the problem with streaming with LEC players. Americans are the worst in the whole world at understanding accents. They can't understand an accent for shit.